I recognized the signature. It wasn't mine. The document sat on the hospital tray table, partially covered by a newspaper someone had left behind. Property transfer authorization, the header read. My name was typed at the bottom. Above it, a signature that looked almost right. Almost. But I'd signed my name thousands of times over 40 years of drafting architectural plans. And this wasn't how my J curved at the base. I set down the water cup I'd been reaching for. My hands were steadier now, 3 days after the surgery. The routine gallbladder removal had gone smoothly, according to Dr. Patterson. I was supposed to go home tomorrow. I picked up the document, held it toward the afternoon light streaming through the window. The signature was in blue ink. I always used black. Always. My daughter Emily had visited twice that morning already. Once at 7 with coffee and muffins, again at 10 with my mail and iPad. She'd seemed anxious, both times, asking repeatedly when I'd be released, whether I'd reviewed those papers the attorney sent. I'd told her I hadn't seen any papers from Frank Morrison, my lawyer of 15 years. She'd looked confused, said they must have gotten mixed up with the hospital paperwork. She'd check on it. This document wasn't from Frank. The law firm listed at the bottom was Stedman and Associates, a name I didn't recognize. The property address was my rental building on Campbell Avenue, the 6-unit complex I'd bought in 2003. According to this paper, I was transferring ownership to something called Desert Holdings LLC. I'd never heard of Desert Holdings LLC. The hospital room suddenly felt smaller. I pressed the call button. A young nurse appeared within 30 seconds, someone I hadn't seen during my stay. Her badge read Sophia. "Can you help me make a phone call?" I asked. "My cell phone is acting up, and I need to reach my attorney." "Of course, Mr. Patterson. Use the room phone. Just dial 9 for an outside line." I called Frank Morrison's office. His secretary Martha answered on the second ring. "Frank Morrison and Associates. How may I help you?" "Martha, it's James Whitmore. I need to speak with Frank. It's urgent." "Mr. Whitmore, I'm so sorry, but Mr. Morrison is in depositions all day. Can I take a message or have him call you back?" I explained I was at Good Samaritan Hospital, room 412. And needed to discuss some urgent property documents. She promised Frank would call within the hour. He called back in 20 minutes. "James," Martha said. It sounded serious. "What's going on?" I described the document I'd found. There was a long pause. "James, I haven't sent you any property transfer papers, and I certainly wouldn't use another firm's letterhead. Where did you say you found this?" "On my hospital tray. My daughter brought my mail this morning. She mentioned papers from you, but then said they must have gotten mixed up." Another pause, longer this time. "James, I'm going to ask you something, and I need you to think carefully. Has Emily or her husband Derek asked you about your properties recently? Any discussions about estate planning, selling assets, anything like that?" "Derek's been after me for months about consolidating my portfolio. He's a financial advisor, you know. Keeps saying I'm holding too much in real estate. Should diversify into his managed funds. I've told him no. Those rentals generate steady income. Have you signed any powers of attorney recently? Given anyone authority to handle your finances while you're recovering?" "Absolutely not. You know, I'd never do that without discussing it with you first." "James, I'm going to come by the hospital this evening after my depositions. Don't sign anything. Don't let anyone take any papers from your room. And James, keep that document. We may need it." After Frank hung up, I sat holding the paper, reading it more carefully. The transfer was dated 4 days ago, the day of my surgery. I'd been under anesthesia when this signature was supposedly made. The witness signatures were illegible scrawls. The notary stamp looked official, but something about the embossed seal seemed off. Too perfect, too symmetrical. I thought about the past 6 months. Derek had been unusually attentive after his financial planning pitch failed, showing up with lunch, offering to help with property maintenance, volunteering to review my insurance policies. Emily had always been close to me, especially after her mother passed 5 years ago, but lately there'd been an intensity to her visits. Lots of questions about my health, my plans, whether I'd updated my will. I'd attributed it to concern, Natural worry about an aging father living alone. Now I wondered. The door opened. I instinctively slid the document under my newspaper. It was Emily, carrying a small overnight bag. "Dad, I brought your things for tomorrow. Clean clothes, your toiletries. I figured you'd want a shower before we take you home." She set the bag on the chair, came to kiss my forehead. "How are you feeling?" "Better. Stronger." I watched her face. "Emily, did you bring any papers from my house? Anything besides my mail?" She blinked. "Papers?" "No, just your mail, like I said." "Why?" "I found something on my tray earlier. A property transfer document. It had my signature, but I didn't sign it." Her face did something complicated. Surprise, then confusion, then something that might have been fear. It happened fast, like a card trick. "What? That's strange. Maybe it's from before? Something you forgot about?" "It's dated 4 days ago, while I was in surgery." "That doesn't make any sense." She pulled out her phone. "I should text Derek. He handles all our legal stuff. Maybe he knows something about it." "Please don't." I said it more sharply than intended. "Not yet. I've already called Frank Morrison. He's coming by this evening." Emily's hand tightened on her phone. "You called Frank?" "Dad, that seems like an overreaction. It's probably just a filing error, something administrative. Someone forged my signature on a document transferring my Campbell Avenue property to a company I've never heard of. That's not an administrative error." She sat down heavily on the chair, still holding her phone. For a long moment, she didn't speak. When she did, her voice was different, smaller. "The Campbell building. That's the one Derek's been asking about." "I know. Dad, I need to tell you something." She looked at her phone screen, then at me. "Derek's been having some problems. With his business, the market's been difficult, and he made some investments that didn't work out. We're in trouble. Serious financial trouble." "How serious?" "We're going to lose the house. We've already refinanced twice. We owe almost $200,000 in credit card debt. Derek's firm is talking about letting him go because his clients have been pulling their accounts." I felt something cold spread through my chest. How long has this been going on? 2 years? Maybe 3. He kept saying he could fix it, that one good quarter would turn everything around, but it kept getting worse. Tears started down her face. "I should have told you. I wanted to. But Derek said you'd think he was a failure, that you'd never respect him again." "Emily, if you needed money, why didn't you just ask me?" "I tried. 6 months ago. Remember when I mentioned Derek had a great investment opportunity? You said no." "I did remember. Derek had wanted $200,000 to invest in some cryptocurrency venture. I'd declined because it sounded reckless, but I'd offered to help them if they were struggling. Emily had insisted they were fine, just looking for growth opportunities. That's not the same as asking for help with debt." "I know." She wiped her eyes. "Derek said asking would make him look weak. He said we needed to be strategic about it. He talked about your estate, about how we'd inherit eventually anyway. Maybe there was a way to access some of that liquidity sooner." The cold feeling was spreading. What did he mean by strategic? I don't know. I mean, I didn't think he meant anything illegal. He just kept talking about estate planning, about setting up trusts, about how it would be smart to transfer some properties into an LLC for tax purposes. He showed me articles, talked to his lawyer friend about it. "Did he talk to you about power of attorney?" Emily looked at the floor. She nodded. "When?" "Last month. He said it would be smart to have something in place in case anything happened to you during surgery. Just temporary. Just to make sure someone could handle your affairs if there were complications. He had papers drawn up. I told him we needed to wait, to talk to you about it properly." "Did you sign anything?" "No. I swear, Dad, I didn't sign anything. Derek got angry with me. We fought about it. He said I was being difficult, that I didn't understand how desperate things were." She looked up at me, her face red and wet. "But I never gave him permission to do anything without your knowledge. Whatever that document is, I had nothing to do with it." I wanted to believe her. God, I wanted to believe my daughter wasn't part of this. Where's Derek now? At work, I think. We barely talk anymore. Things have been terrible between us since I refused to help with the power of attorney thing. Emily, I need you to be completely honest with me. Do you know anything about Desert Holdings, LLC? Her face went white. That's Derek's company. He set it up last year. He said it was for his financial planning business, a way to structure his practice differently for tax benefits. Your husband set up a company and then forged my signature to transfer my property into it. Oh my God. Emily's hand went to her mouth. Oh my God, Dad. I didn't know. I swear I didn't know he would do this. When? How? Apparently while I was in surgery 4 days ago. He was here. That day. He said he was here to support me, to wait during your surgery. I was so grateful. Her voice broke. He must have done it then. While I was in the waiting room terrified you wouldn't wake up, he was stealing from you. The door opened again. Derek walked in, carrying coffee cups. He was smiling until he saw Emily's face. Hey, what's wrong? Emily, are you crying? He set down the coffee, looked at me, then back at her. What happened? Dad found the papers. Emily's voice was flat. Derek's face didn't change for 3 full seconds. Then something shifted behind his eyes. His jaw tightened. What papers? I pulled the document from under the newspaper. The property transfer papers with my forged signature. The ones transferring my Campbell Avenue building to your Desert Holdings, LLC. He looked at the paper, then at me. To my surprise, he didn't deny it. Instead, he sat down carefully on the edge of the bed, like a man preparing to jump from a great height. I was going to tell you, or you, after everything was finalized. I was going to explain it was for tax purposes, that Frank had suggested it. He rubbed his face with both hands. I know how this looks. I know it's bad. But James, I was desperate. We're losing everything. I thought if I could just restructure your portfolio, show some returns, I could pay back what I owed and fix my reputation. The Campbell property, it's worth close to $2 million. I wasn't going to sell it. Just use it as collateral for a loan. Get the capital I needed to save my business, using a forged signature on a property transfer document. I had someone at a notary office I know. She owed me a favor. It wasn't supposed to go this far. I thought I'd have time to fix everything before you even noticed. Emily made a sound like a wounded animal. Derek, what have you done? I saved us. That's what I've been trying to do this whole time. Save us. You wouldn't help. Your father wouldn't help. Nobody understands how close we are to losing everything. His voice rose. I worked my whole life to build something, and it's falling apart because of factors I can't control. The market, the economy, clients, panicking. I just needed a chance to turn it around. By committing fraud, by being creative, by finding solutions, by not giving up and accepting failure like some people would. He stood up, paced to the window. Frank Morrison is going to kill this, isn't he? You called him. You're going to press charges. That's not really up to me. You committed a crime. Derek turned around, and for the first time I saw genuine fear in his face. James, please, I'm begging you. I have a daughter. Emma is 13 years old. If I go to prison, if I lose my license, we'll have nothing. Emily will have nothing. Emma will grow up knowing her father is a criminal. You should have thought of that before you forged my signature. I know. You're right. I'm not trying to justify it. I'm just asking for mercy. For Emily's sake. For Emma's sake. Let me make this right. I'll transfer the property back. I'll put everything in writing. I'll sign whatever Frank wants. Just don't destroy my family over one mistake. One mistake. As if forging a signature, creating fraudulent documents, and attempting to steal a $2 million property was equivalent to forgetting to put gas in the car. Emily was crying quietly in her chair. I looked at my daughter, at the girl I'd raised alone after Susan died, at the woman who'd stood by me through my own struggles with grief and loneliness. I thought about Emma, my granddaughter, who loved soccer and mathematics and terrible knock-knock jokes. Get out, I said quietly. Both of you. I need to think. Come back tomorrow after I've talked to Frank. Derek opened his mouth to argue. Emily grabbed his arm. Let's go, now. After they left, I sat in the empty room, holding the forged document. The light had shifted, painting the walls orange. Somewhere down the hall, a patient was laughing at something on television. I thought I knew my family. I thought I understood what they were capable of. How wrong I'd been. Frank Morrison arrived at 6:30. He was a stocky man in his late 50s, with steel gray hair and the permanently skeptical expression of someone who'd spent 30 years reading contracts. He studied the document for 10 minutes without speaking, occasionally pulling out his phone to photograph details. "This is sophisticated," he finally said. "The notary stamp is fake, but it's a good fake. Someone knew what they were doing. The witness signatures are illegible, which is standard in fraud cases, makes them impossible to verify. The company registration for Desert Holdings is legitimate. Your son-in-law filed it properly with the state last year. So it's real fraud, not amateur hour. Absolutely real. The signature analysis alone will be enough for criminal charges. We can prove you were under anesthesia when this was supposedly signed. Hospital records will confirm that. But James, before we go that route, I need to ask what you want to happen here." I'd been thinking about this for 2 hours. I want my property protected. I want to make sure Derek can never do this again. Beyond that, I don't know. He could go to prison, 5 to 10 years for this level of fraud. He'll lose his financial advisor license permanently. His career is over regardless. And Emily, from what you've told me, she doesn't appear to be directly involved. Naive, maybe? Willfully ignorant, possibly. But not criminally liable unless we find evidence she knew about the forgery. She didn't. I believe that. Frank nodded. Then we have options. We can pursue full criminal prosecution. We can negotiate a civil settlement where he makes restitution and signs agreements preventing future contact or financial dealings with you. Or we can do something in between. What would you recommend? That depends on what you want for your family. Do you want justice or do you want peace? I want my daughter to be okay. I want my granddaughter to have a future. I don't want Derek near my finances ever again. Beyond that, I trailed off. Think about it tonight. We'll talk tomorrow. In the meantime, I'm filing emergency paperwork to freeze any transactions involving your properties. Nothing moves until we resolve this. He stood to leave, then paused. James, I'm sorry. Nobody should have to deal with this, especially not from family. After Frank left, I tried to sleep, but couldn't. I kept replaying moments from the past 6 months, seeing them differently now. Derek's sudden interest in my health, Emily's questions about my will, the way they'd both been so enthusiastic about me having this surgery at Good Samaritan specifically. Derek saying his friend was on staff there and would make sure I got excellent care. Had that friend been the notary? Around midnight, someone knocked softly on my door. I expected a nurse doing rounds. Instead, a man I'd never seen before stepped in. He was Hispanic, maybe in his 50s, wearing the blue uniform of the hospital maintenance staff. His name tag read Miguel. "Mr. Whitmore? I'm sorry to bother you so late. I'm Miguel Hernandez. I clean the floors on this wing." He spoke carefully, with a slight accent. "I need to tell you something. I heard you and your daughter talking earlier. I was cleaning outside your room, and I heard raised voices. I wasn't trying to listen, but I heard the name Derek and something about property papers." I sat up straighter. "Yes? 3 days ago, I saw your son-in-law in the records area on the 3rd floor. I only noticed because he was wearing visitor clothes, but was in a staff-only area. He saw me looking and said he was lost, looking for the cafeteria. I showed him the way. But now..." He hesitated. "Now I think maybe he wasn't lost." "The 3rd floor. What's in the records area?" "Medical records storage. Old files that aren't digitized yet. Also some administrative offices. There's a notary service office there too, for patients who need documents witnessed." I felt my pulse quicken. "Is there security footage?" "I don't know. Maybe. I just thought you should know what I saw." He shifted his weight nervously. "In Mexico, before I came here, I was an accountant. I worked for a bank. I've seen fraud before. The way he looked when he saw me, the way he lied about being lost, I recognized that look. I didn't want to say nothing if something bad was happening. Miguel, thank you. This is very helpful. Can you write down exactly when you saw him and where? He pulled out a small notepad from his pocket and wrote carefully, his handwriting neat and precise. He tore out the page and handed it to me. I work here 5 years. Good people at this hospital. Good patients. What he did? Using your surgery time to steal from you? That's evil. Family should protect family. He moved toward the door. I hope you're okay, Mr. Whitmore. I hope your family situation gets better. After he left, I looked at the note. Miguel had included not just the day and time, but the exact location, description of what Derek was wearing, even which direction he'd gone afterward. The kind of detail you'd expect from someone trained to document financial transactions. I called Frank's cell. He answered on the 4th ring, voice groggy. James? Everything okay? I told him about Miguel. Frank was silent for a moment. Then I heard him moving, the scratch of pen on paper. That's good. That's actually really good. If we can prove Derek was near the notary office during your surgery, it strengthens our case significantly. Get Miguel's full contact information. I'll want to talk to him. The next morning, Emily arrived early, alone. Her eyes were swollen, face pale. She sat in the chair without speaking for a long time. I left him, she finally said. I packed Emma and me up last night and went to my friend Sarah's house. I told Derek if he even tries to contact us, I'm calling the police. Emily, let me finish. Please. She took a shaky breath. I talked to Emma. I told her there were serious problems between her father and me, that we needed space. I didn't tell her about the fraud. Not yet. But I will, if I have to. She deserves to know the truth. You don't have to do this. Yes, I do. Dad, I've been lying to myself for 3 years, telling myself Derek's problems were temporary, that he just needed one break, one good deal, ignoring red flags because it was easier than facing the truth. He asked me to help him forge a power of attorney. He actually asked me to help him steal from my own father, and part of me wanted to say yes because I was so scared of losing everything. She wiped her eyes angrily. I'm done being scared. I'm done enabling him. Whatever consequences he faces, he earned them. And what do you want? For yourself and Emma? I want to start over. I want to go back to work. I used to be a good graphic designer before I quit to support Derek's career. I want Emma to see her mother standing up for what's right, even when it's hard. I want to be someone you can be proud of again. I've always been proud of you. You shouldn't be. Not lately. She reached into her purse and pulled out a thick folder. These are all the financial records I could find. Derek's business accounts, our personal accounts, credit card statements, everything. I think there might be other things you don't know about yet. Other properties or accounts he might have tried to access. I want you to have everything so Frank can see the whole picture. I took the folder. It was surprisingly heavy. Emma, going to be okay? I think so. She's tough. Tougher than her mother was. Emily stood up. I should go. Let you rest. But Dad, whatever you decide to do about Derek, I support it. If you want to prosecute, I'll testify. If you want to settle privately, I understand. Either way, he's out of our lives. After she left, I spent the morning going through the financial documents. It was worse than I'd thought. Derek hadn't just targeted me. He'd taken out loans using Emily's parents' home as collateral without her knowledge. He'd borrowed against his business accounts and clients' investment funds. The debt wasn't $200,000. It was closer to $700,000. He'd been running a sophisticated shell game for years, robbing Peter to pay Paul, staying one step ahead of collapse. Until now. Frank arrived after lunch with a younger man he introduced as Peter Chang from his firm. They'd spent the morning reviewing security footage from the hospital. We've got him, Frank said without preamble. Derek entered the 3rd floor administrative wing at 1:47 p.m. on the day of your surgery. He went directly to the notary services office. He left at 2:23 p.m. We also have footage of him earlier that morning entering the surgical wing, going to the nurse's station where your pre-op paperwork was stored. We're getting sworn statements from staff. What about the notary? She's denying everything. But her story is falling apart. Apparently, Derek did some work for her ex-husband's business, and she owed him a favor. We're negotiating with her attorney now. She'll likely cooperate in exchange for reduced charges. I felt sick. So he planned this. It wasn't desperation or a spur-of-the-moment mistake. He planned it carefully, meticulously. The LLC was registered months ago. He had the transfer documents drafted weeks in advance. He just needed an opportunity when you'd be incapacitated and couldn't interfere. Frank sat down. James, we need to make a decision. The DA is already interested. This kind of fraud, the sophistication involved, they want to prosecute. What are my options? Option 1, full prosecution. Derek goes to jail, probably 5 to 7 years. You get your property secured, but your family is torn apart publicly. The trial will be covered by local media. Emma will see her father on the news. Option 2, civil settlement. Derek signs over any claims to your property, now and forever. He agrees to supervised financial counseling. He pays restitution, probably through garnishment since he's broke. You drop criminal charges. He keeps his freedom but loses his career. The state board will still revoke his license based on the civil findings. Option 3, something in between. He pleads guilty to reduced charges, does minimal jail time, probation, restitution, still loses his license, but avoids the long prison sentence. What do you think I should do? I think you should protect yourself legally and let Derek face consequences. Beyond that, it's not my call. He's your family. I thought about Emma, 13 years old, at the age where everything felt like the end of the world already. I thought about Emily, trying to rebuild her life. I thought about Derek, desperate and foolish and criminal. I thought about Miguel, the maintenance worker who used to be an accountant, who recognized fraud when he saw it, who'd taken the time to document what he'd witnessed and bring it to me. Miguel, who owed me nothing, who'd risked his job to do the right thing. I want option 2, I said. Civil settlement. But I have conditions. I'm listening. Derek signs everything. Properties, accounts, any possible claims on my estate, everything. He agrees to supervised financial counseling for minimum 2 years. He enters therapy, real therapy, to figure out why he thought this was acceptable, and he pays restitution. He's broke, James. Then he pays it slowly. 10% of his income, whatever income he manages to get, until it's paid off. But here's the other part. He also commits to family therapy with Emily if she wants it. He apologizes to Emma in writing, explaining what he did and why it was wrong, in age-appropriate language that Frank and Emily review first. And he never, ever contacts me directly again. All communication goes through attorneys. Frank made notes. That's reasonable. I think we can make that work. What about Emma's college fund? Have you thought about that? I'll set up a separate trust for Emma. Derek has no access, no knowledge of the details. Emily is trustee. Emma gets it at 18 for college, or at 25 if she doesn't pursue education. Good. What else? Miguel Hernandez, the maintenance worker who brought me the information. I want to thank him properly. A thank you gift. That's fine, but be careful. Nothing that looks like payment for testimony if this goes to trial. It won't be for testimony. It'll be for doing the right thing when he didn't have to. I looked at Frank. Miguel told me he used to be an accountant in Mexico. I want to help him get back into that field. Pay for any certifications he needs, any education. Set him up with job placement assistance. Can you find out what he'd need to become a licensed accountant here? Frank smiled. That's generous. It's not generous. It's barely adequate thanks for someone who prevented my own son-in-law from successfully robbing me. The settlement took 3 weeks to finalize. Derek signed everything without negotiation. His attorney said Derek was relieved to avoid criminal prosecution and committed to making amends. The property was transferred back into my name. The forged documents were destroyed. Desert Holdings LLC was dissolved. Derek moved out of state to Colorado, where Emily said he'd found work as a sales associate at a sporting goods store. He sent the required letter to Emma, which Emily said was surprisingly thoughtful. He'd admitted his mistake, apologized for lying, explained that he'd made terrible choices because he was scared and proud. He asked for her forgiveness eventually, but said he understood if it took time. He promised to be better. Emma cried when she read it, but said she appreciated his honesty. Emily found work at a marketing firm, doing graphic design for their tech clients. She and Emma moved into a small apartment near Emma's school. Emily said it was the happiest she'd been in years. I went back to my house, to my rental properties, to my quiet life. But something had changed. I couldn't stop thinking about Miguel, about the courage it took to approach a stranger's hospital room at midnight to report something suspicious, about how easily he could have looked away, finished his shift, gone home to his own problems. Frank reported back on Miguel's situation. He'd been an accountant in Guadalajara for 15 years before immigrating to the United States 12 years ago. He'd taken the maintenance job at the hospital because it offered healthcare benefits for his wife, who had diabetes. He'd never pursued accounting certification here because he couldn't afford the costs and the time away from work. He needs to pass 4 exams for the CPA certification, Frank explained. Study materials, review courses, exam fees. It runs about $5,000. Then he'd need to complete supervised hours working under a licensed CPA, which might mean taking a pay cut initially to get into an accounting firm. Set it up, I said. All of it. Pay for the courses, the exams, the study materials. And Frank, I want you to find him a position. Someone in your network must need an accountant. Someone who will give him the supervised hours and pay him decently while he completes the requirements. James, that's going to run close to $15,000 between education and supplementing his income. Then it runs $15,000. The man saved me from being defrauded. The least I can do is help him return to his actual profession. Frank made it happen. Miguel was shocked when Frank approached him with the offer. He called me personally, his voice thick with emotion. Mr. Whitmore, I don't understand. This is too much. I just told you what I saw. Miguel, you didn't have to tell me anything. You could have walked past my room and gone home. You chose to get involved. You chose to do the right thing when it would have been easier to do nothing. That deserves recognition. But this is my life you're changing. My whole family's life. I know. Pay it forward someday. When you see someone who needs help, help them. Miguel passed all 4 CPA exams within 8 months. Frank placed him with a mid-sized accounting firm that handled real estate portfolios. 2 years later, Miguel became a licensed CPA. 3 years later, he made partner. We still have coffee once a month. He tells me about his clients, about his daughter who's studying engineering at ASU, about his wife whose diabetes is well controlled now with better health care. I tell him about my granddaughter Emma, who's thriving in high school, who wants to study architecture like her grandfather. We don't talk much about Derek anymore. Emily tells me he's remarried, working in retail management, attending his court-ordered therapy. He sends child support payments regularly. Emma sees him twice a year, supervised visits that Emily says are awkward but civil. It's not perfect healing. Emily still has hard days, debt she's paying off, trust issues she's working through in therapy. Emma struggles sometimes with having a father who committed fraud. I have moments of anger, of betrayal, of wondering what I could have done differently. But it's real healing. Messy, complicated, honest healing. I'm 70 now, 6 years past that hospital stay that changed everything. My Campbell Avenue property still generates good rental income. I sold my other buildings and put most of the money into trusts for Emma and for Emily. I kept enough to live comfortably, to travel occasionally, to take Emma to dinner every week at her favorite Thai restaurant. Last month, Miguel called with an interesting proposition. He's opening his own accounting firm, specializing in helping immigrant professionals navigate U.S. certification requirements. He wants to know if I'd consider being an investor and advisor. I said yes immediately. Because here's what I learned from that forged signature, from those terrifying days in the hospital, from watching my family almost destroy itself over money and pride and fear. The people who show up matter more than the people who were supposed to show up. The maintenance worker who notices something wrong matters more than the son-in-law who had every advantage. Character revealed under pressure matters more than character promised under perfect conditions. And sometimes, the family you choose matters just as much as the family you were given. I have coffee with Miguel tomorrow morning. We're meeting to discuss his business plan, to talk about the other Miguel Hernandezes out there, working maintenance jobs or driving taxis or cleaning houses. People with degrees and experience and credentials that don't translate. People who just need someone to give them a chance. People who deserve the opportunity to return to who they really are. My daughter Emily is joining us. She's designing the marketing materials for Miguel's new firm. She's good at it, really good. She's building something, becoming someone, showing Emma what it looks like to start over with integrity. Emma will be there too. She wants to ask Miguel about his accounting career for a school project on professional pathways. It's not the family I expected to have at 70. It's better, because it's built on truth instead of obligation, on respect instead of assumption, on people who chose to show up instead of people who were supposed to. That forged signature 6 years ago didn't just try to steal my property. It revealed who people really were when everything was on the line. And in the end, that revelation was worth more than any building I own.